Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me in today's Chit Chat Café con Dulce video where I will be doing a life update. I want to talk to you guys about our move, my dad, and all of the crazy changes that have been taking place. And you guys asked me a lot of questions on social media, primarily, where are you moving to? And how is my dad and how we're dealing with the cancer diagnosis. And I just wanted to take this time to connect with you guys because life has been just kind of moving very fast. It's been chaotic and I haven't had time to focus on my YouTube channel and do vlogs and create content because I'm also gearing up for our first Costa Rica retreat, which is happening in about 2 weeks. And I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it. So I've been preparing and making sure everything is ready for all of the women that will be joining us in Costa Rica. I am so excited and I'm looking forward to it. So a lot of the changes that have been taking place have been happening all of a sudden. It hasn't been necessarily ideal because the Costa Rica retreat is happening. We're selling our home right now. And the news about my dad, it's all happening at once. And I'm doing my best to be able to manage all of these different changes that are happening. And so I wanted to share how I'm doing it. And you guys also asked me on Instagram. So first things first, the move. We'll start there. So we decided to move before I found out about my dad's diagnosis. We actually announced to my dad and my mom that we were moving, and then a week later, my dad got the news about his cancer and the stage that it was in. And we were already in preparation for selling our house. Now, I'm not gonna go into all the details in my personal life as far as why we're moving, but I am a private person to a large degree, and I like to keep things very personal. My husband does also, but we've been wanting to move for a long time, and it's been a dream of ours to own land that had like many acres of land so we can have our retreat center. We can have our chickens and animals and farms and vegetables and space and nature and really live a slower paced life. So this is the intention that I put at the beginning of the year. And God shook up our ground and he basically said, you can't stay here anymore. For personal reasons that I'm not going to discuss in today's video, we literally have to sell this house. It's been hard to let go of this house because it's our first home, the first house that we buy, and it's been our refuge through the pandemic. We've been through many phases in life. My children have been growing up. Isaac was like 5 years old and he's 13 now. And I love Los Angeles and I love being close to my family and everything, but God literally has shaken up the floor beneath us to the point that we have to move. We have to sell the house. And so lately in this stage of my life, I've been very much open to just allowing God to do what God does without questioning God, because I don't need to understand why God is doing what he's doing, because maybe I'll never get an actual answer, right? Or maybe I'll never get clarity. So I don't even ask these questions. I just follow his command. And me and my husband are both on board with all of this. My children are very excited. And this is a very exciting thing. You know, we get to start somewhere fresh and new. So whatever we're dreaming and what we want to experience, we have the blessing of being able to create all of that. But we have to let go and dissolve a lot of parts of our old life in order to step into this new phase. And letting go can be hard. And so we made that decision. We were so excited, and we still are very excited. It's still a very exciting person. And like my sweater says, I'm always the optimist. So I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic about everything that is happening. And so we decided to sell the house, and we started packing up our boxes. That's what we've been doing. All of the rooms are packed. The house has been crazy busy with people here because we are prepping the house for staging. Our friend is actually the guy that sold us the house, our friend George. He's actually selling this house again. And so he said the best thing you guys can do is you just gotta move out of the house, even though you haven't sold it yet. And we're gonna perfect it. So the whole house is being painted. So many things are being patched up. Everything is being redone, the outside, the inside, and it's getting ready. So, we gotta get staging furniture in all of the bedrooms so we can get buyers into the house and make a sale within 2 months. And so all of that has been going on, and we don't have anywhere to go. We literally do not have anywhere to go. We can't rent anything anywhere here in Los Angeles. You guys know rent is crazy expensive. So we gotta move. We gotta leave. We gotta leave the state as soon as possible. And so in the middle of all of this, we get the diagnosis from my dad that he has stage 4 cancer. Shocking news for all of us, because we've known that he's been dealing with this disease for a long time, but they've always removed tumors. He was always getting better. Unfortunately, there were some doctors that were not that kind or on him, and they were just telling him, you're stressed out. And my dad's like, I don't want to come to you, doctor, and then you're going to tell me that it's too late. So something is wrong with me. I don't feel well. I'm telling you, I feel sick here. This is where the pain is coming from. The doctor dismissed my dad and said, you're stressed out. Lo and behold, he gets some scans done, and it is stage 4 cancer now. Spread. I have been a little bit in denial. Some people asked, how are you dealing with the diagnosis? I have to be honest, I have been in denial. I feel like the blessing of selling a home is that I'm packing every day. I'm prepping something to sell this house. I'm getting rid of stuff. Like, I'm busy. I'm prepping for my retreat. I'm keeping myself busy, and that allows me to remain sane throughout the day, right? At night, however, I don't sleep well. I wake up every single night in the middle thinking about my dad, thinking about the move, thinking about these things, right? And that was not like me. Like, I sleep through the night. I don't wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety about the future. I don't. The biggest thing for me right now that has been getting me through all of this has definitely been God. My dad has a really strong faith. My husband does, I do. We believe in God, and we believe in God's plan. And my dad reminds me every single time that I see him that this is God's plan and this is what God wants. And if God is going to save him, God is the one that's going to do that. Not a doctor, not a medicine, not a treatment, not a diet that I recommend, or a wellness plan, or a remedy. Nothing is going to save my dad besides God. Knowing that gives me a lot of comfort, because it's true. God is the ultimate being that is going to make a decision on what happens with all of us. So I don't question God. I don't ask him, why God, why God? And so if you talk to my dad, and a lot of people have even flown out of state. He has so many friends and family that really love my dad. He has so many people around him that just been championing for my dad. And if you see my dad is a fighter. He does not look like he kind of looks like he's going through something, because it is tough, but his demeanor, his attitude is very optimistic. He doesn't acknowledge that he has cancer. He knows the diagnosis, and he knows what doctors have told him, but he's like, only God knows. Yeah, this is what the doctors told me, that is stage 4 bladder cancer, but God is the ultimate person that's going to say, you're gonna live or you're not. It's not a doctor. It's happened so many times. People live even though doctors say you're not gonna live, right? So my dad is very optimistic, very positive, very faithful, and we are taking his lead because as his daughters, it's very hard to hear that about your dad, and also to see my mom going through that as well, you know, because my mom is taking care of my dad and making him all the remedios and his avena in the morning and really taking care of my dad. As far as us as his daughters, it definitely has brought our family closer, not just us, the sisters, but like the tios and the cousins and like everybody. When this first happened, when I first heard about the diagnosis like a few weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, or a little bit more than a month ago, my grandfather, Papa Ernesto, had just passed away. And right before then, my dad was actually in the hospital. So what happened is that my dad was literally on the brink of death, if not like he showed up to the hospital like dead is what he says, because he had kidney failure. And my cousin, who's a doctor, reviewed all his records, and he's like, wow, like, Tio, like, this is a miracle that you survived, because if you would have waited 30 more minutes, because my dad was like very swollen, and he wasn't feeling like he was about to die, but my dad was like really swollen from his face, his hands, and my mom's like, you don't look well. And they took him to the hospital, and literally they had to do dialysis and all of these different things to save my dad. And my dad was literally, his heart was about to stop and he was about to die in that moment. My dad ended up staying at the hospital for about 2 weeks. And my grandpa, God rest his soul, he was already in his last moments of his life in Mexico, my dad's dad, Papa Ernesto. And when my dad got released, like the next day, my grandfather passed away. And my dad feels like it was my grandfather being able to move on now, because he knew that his son was in his se paró en sus pies, and he was released from the hospital. But I come from a family that I'm so proud to be a family member of. I'm so proud to have this bloodline in me, the Tejeda, Lopez, Rios, Puga, that bloodline. I'm so proud to be a part of that, because my family members, they lived to like 100, almost 100, like 99 years old, like all of them. I don't have a family history at all of breast cancer, period, diabetes, anything. Like, my family just lives a long life, pretty healthy. And usually when a relative dies in my family, in my bloodline, it's usually because of old age, with the exception of a really young cousin that passed away too soon. So I'm not used to people dying, to be honest. My dad's parents passed away, and those are like the closest people in my life that have passed away, but they passed away because they were of old age. And my dad was telling me that when he would talk to my grandpa, and my grandpa was already like, he forgot his memory, he couldn't take care of himself, he was always bedridden pretty much. So, and he wasn't conscious, he didn't have awareness much, he would go in and out of consciousness. And so my grandfather was almost 100 years old, and my grandfather, when he was in moments of awareness, he would talk to my dad, and he would, my grandpa would tell my dad that La Muerte was coming to visit him. And my grandpa's like, get away, ¿qué haces aquí? Vete, yo no me quiero ir contigo. Like, I'm not going with you. Like, I want nothing to do with you right now. You better get away. He would tell that to Death. Death would literally come visit him. And my grandpa was like, no, I'm not going. And he just didn't die. Even though he could have said, okay, let's go, like, it's time now. But my grandpa like literally fought to the very end to live. And my dad, that's a son. My dad is the same way. My dad is a fighter. He is fighting with optimism, obviously he's doing his treatments. He's eating well. My mom's taking really good care of him with remedios and all kinds of cancer fighting things. and just making sure that his body is strong for the treatment that he's doing for the cancer. But my dad's not giving up without a fight. And I'm seeing that, and I'm learning so much from my dad in this moment. So it's a very eye-opening and teachable moment. Like, it's a life-changing moment just to see my dad get a diagnosis of that nature and see his mindset and see his attitude and see how he interacts with life. And my dad is still very much full of life, full of life. He's eating, he's walking, he's moving, he's doing what he can. And he's like, if my dad didn't give up, you think I'm gonna give up? Like, I don't think so. And so that's been that. As far as me and my sisters and how we're dealing with that, I have an older sister, Cynthia. She is definitely a leader. She is the oldest. She's very organized and structured, and like, she's a boss. And so I'm the second youngest, and then I have two little sisters, Yvette and Wendy. So Cynthia is basically the leader of everything that's going down. You know, she talks to the doctors, she looks at all the records, she's doing all of this, and then we have briefings with her over the phone or in person when we're together, and she'll just brief us on everything that is happening and how we're all going to pitch in and collectively help my dad, not just financially, but also with food, with medical visits and everything. So we all have, like, me and my sisters, we all have an individual day that we do not do anything but make sure that we're there for my dad, to make sure that we can take him to his doctor's visits, to and from, and all of those different things. So we're all pulling our own resources that we have, and we're helping my mom and my dad with anything that we can think of. And that has brought us closer together. We also have weekly family dinners, mandatory with the exception of this week because one of my sisters got sick, but my dad tells us that is his greatest medicine, is being surrounded by people. And so he loves to see us together, and we love to have these family dinners. So, you know, we'll all like equally pitch in with the food and just anything that is needed. Everything just gets divided into 4, and that's how we do it. You know, all the tasks, everybody's taking care of something. And so the hardest thing, to be honest with you, and the thing that brings me to tears, is the conversation around burial, cremation, the outfit that he's gonna wear, the music, the food after the viewing, and like talking about all of those things, because those things make it real. And my dad is still fighting for his life, and we're all right there with him. But my sisters, and I agree, it's important to have these conversations with them. And, you know, my sisters are calling places to get quotes to see how much it's going to cost for cremation, for burial, and all of those things. And I'm not ready for that, if I have to be honest with you. Every time somebody brings it up, I don't like talking about it, because that's kind of like, you know, that makes it real, and that makes it like, it just makes it real, you know? And right now, like, you know, we're all still very positive and optimistic, and like still having so much faith in God that he's gonna work his miracles and he's gonna do what he does. And yeah, but I'm not there yet. I don't like having that conversation. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that because someone is at my door. I think that's my big boy. I'm actually gonna go to a mass that my sister put together, St. Mary Magdalene Church in Camarillo. So I'm gonna head over there on Friday. I gotta be there at 5, and we're gonna do a mass. Well, there is gonna be a whole mass for my dad, so we can pray for his healing and pray for miracles. And that's where I'm headed to. So I know I didn't cover absolutely everything right now, but I will hopefully connect with you guys and continue having this conversation. because there's so much that I want to share with you guys in regards to this process. So have a blessed and beautiful day, and I will see you guys soon.